Thursday, February 19th. I'm Adam Walsh, and this is The Signal. Today on the show, we're taking a look back to take a look ahead. The focus, farming and food security. What can we learn from the way we used to farm to help us today? And what are we doing now to improve this food security of tomorrow? So if you're digging out from snow, I salute you. I did it this morning. And if you're in parts of the province where you're not dealing with it, well, lucky you. Sit back and enjoy the show as well. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Anytime you want to get in touch with us on The Signal at cbc.ca. And if you want to join today's discussion, because we're talking about farming, right? So if you've got thoughts on, the future of farming for Newfoundland and Labrador, give us a call. Or if you grew up farming, right? If you were, whether it's in and around town, parts of rural Newfoundland and Labrador, if this is a story that kind of strikes to some of those core memories of childhood, of how you used to sustain yourselves with food for farming and livestock, that kind of a thing, give us a call. 709-722-7111, 1-800-563-8255. We've got a couple guests on the phone. We got one guest here in studio, and we will call a couple people through the show as well, because it's a journey of history, a journey of effort, and one across the province for today's show. On the line, Frank Holden. How you doing?
No, not bad at all.
All right, sir. So this all started with you, right? I got an email from you a while back, and you mentioned yourself growing up in town, and also a one-man play. Give us a bit more of a fill out that description, if you could, to start things.
Well, in my travels, I've met very few, if any, people like myself in the education field, in journalism, in social work, and in the performing arts, who had grown up on a farm, as I did. Well, I grew up on a farm out where the village mall is now, probably on the junction of Hemlin Road and Topsail Road. And it was a dairy farm. It had originally been a vegetable farm. And I was a farm boy. I chopped wood and I shoveled out the barn every day. I called myself a latrine engineer, actually. And I decided that in the 2 decades after Confederation, 1950 to 1970, everything transformed. We got a highway, replaced tractor trailers, replaced the freight line. Food started coming in because the tariffs were removed on Newfoundland produce to protect it. Food started coming in from as far away as the San Joaquin Valley and Sacramento Valley in California. It could come all the way across the Gulf to St. John's, one corner of the continent to the other, and still outsell local produce. So much for selling local produce to the corner stores as we used to have. Then, of course, the supermarkets came in and they could handle all this major produce. So the little corner stores that served everybody, now they only sell beer and chips. And then we got box stores replacing the major department stores we had down on Water Street. Ayers, Bowering's, Royal Stores, those things. So all in all, the whole agricultural world transformed, changed in my time. If I'd been born, say, 10 years earlier, I was born in the late 40s, and I'm 78 years old. Yes, I said it. Then I might have ended up as a farmer myself. Yeah. And I would have had to deal with the death of farming. One more thing I forgot to mention. The city was expanding in every direction. They told the Dooleys out at the junction of Blackmarsh and Topsail Road that their pigs, they weren't allowed to have pigs inside the city, and they were getting too close to the city. Well, the pigs never moved. The city was moving. But in the end, so you had all these factors, and the easiest place to build, if you're going to build subdivisions, the easiest place is to build is on farmland. It's already been cultivated. And you'll see it in every direction around the city now. But there used to be... in the prosperous years of World War II, there were farms all over. It reached the peak of local farming. Lilac Dell Farms were on Adams Avenue, where the former mayor, the old days, Bill Adams, grew up. Thimble Cottage was the name that the O'Briens had on their farm up there on Oxen Pond Road. It's the O'Brien brothers. And there was a family down the road from me, the Farrell family, and the name of their farm was called Knocklofty, which is a place in the south of Ireland where they probably came from generations before. So all of these farms were supplying St. John's. And St. John's, in fact, all of Newfoundland, was able to feed itself, even in the worst of times. After all, the Beothuk people who were here before us, they ate well. They didn't plant anything. They didn't plant potatoes or carrots or anything. And they still ate well. So if you look at the map, Prince Edward Island is small, and there is more arable grade A land in Newfoundland than there is in Prince Edward Island. What may sound like a shocking thing to say, but look at the size of Prince Edward Island. You could fit it at least twice into the northern peninsula.
All right, Frank, that's a great opening salvo there. And I mean, obviously, I've got loads of questions to continue to unpack, and I always love deep towny cuts of history for stuff that, like, even me growing up in Mount Pearl than CBS learning. So sit tight for one moment, and if there's something you want to say, I mean, do chime in and say it. But I will keep circling back. I'll go as well to another guest on the line for the full show. Allison Snow is on the line. How you doing, Allison?
I'm great. How are you doing, Adam?
Good. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, my pleasure.
And so I just wanted to say hi, because you're the chair of the Food Producers Forum, and here with me in studio we have Dan Rubin, the founding chairperson. So I'll bring you into the conversation as well. Dan, how you doing?
I'm great and very happy to have slid in from Pooch Cove today.
Yeah, thanks for making it in, man, because, you never know. I was surprised I made it in today and yesterday. So let's, I know each of you have got, some, because Dan, you've got some some stats, and Allison, you've got some of the do-how and the know-how and where things are going. So Dan, let's start with you on this, and then we'll go to Allison.
Well, I'll start with this because we've kind of been talking about this, Allison and I want to give some of the background and the results of the research that the group has been doing over the last 7 years.
Yeah, and so this is because me and you over the and your existence for coming on this show with me, it's always this question: where's the food? Well, you found out where the food is, and you're also looking at where the food's being made and what else needs to be done. And this is going to jump and tie directly into what Frank was just talking about for this historic look, and we're bridging the conversation. Sorry, Dan. So go ahead.
Okay, thanks. And hi to Frank. It's been some years since we spoke. I know him as an arts manager and him as a creative artist. And Frank, I read through the script of your little one-act play. It's beautiful. We'll have to figure out how to make it more public.
Indeed. And you're great. We're two old folkies too, by the way.
I'm another 78-year-old. What can I say? But I can still walk and talk.
Yeah.
So anyway, as Frank was indicating, we used to have up through the war years self-sufficiency in food essentially here. Some things were shipped in, but mostly it was grown and gathered here, and particularly in the outports. Pooch Cove, for example, where I live, used to ship hundreds of pounds, thousands of pounds of vegetables into St. John's. That's all in the census records from the beginning of the 1900s. We had 2,000 farms, more or less, and now, according to the data I get from the department, we're down to about 500. But at the same time, there's hope, and I'll get to that in a minute. So here are some interesting facts. 31% of our population is food insecure. That comes from a survey and data from the Salvation Army. We were once, apparently, I've heard many times, the most food secure and the most healthy province in Canada, and now we're at or close to the bottom of the list in terms of food security. And let me say this as well. Personally, I hate that term. I've come to hate the term food security because it's bureaucratic and it's abstract. It talks about need and the downside, when what we should really be talking about, and what we're talking about today on the radio, is food supply. And we launched a survey in 2022 that I'll mention called WTF, Where's the Food? But I don't know the source of this, but I hear many times we've got 4 days worth of food on the grocery store shelves. And when that's gone, if it's not being shipped in, if it's not already in the warehouse, we're out of food at the community level. And that's a scary thought in an age of climate change, rising prices, and tariffs.
And into the supply, being at, one of the ends of supply lines, right?
And even more important than that quantity question is quality. Because how do the grapes get here? Well, they're grown in Chile. And then they're shipped cold storage to Mississauga, Ontario. And then they're repacked, and then they're loaded on a truck. And then the truck drives across the rest of Ontario and Quebec and New Brunswick and up to the ferry where they sit and wait with the diesel humming to keep the refrigeration going. And then a 10-hour trip across the island to a warehouse in Mount Pearl. And then in some cases a 10-hour trip back across the island in a smaller truck.
Yeah, because that makes sense. Yeah.
So when it arrives, and I've been hearing from a lot of people in Labrador, and this is particularly true up there, when the food arrives, it's already spoiling.
Yeah, right.
So what are we doing? And if anybody's really kind of focused on this issue and wants to know more about it, check out, please, online an article, a research article called The Great Nutrient Collapse. Because in addition to all of that, climate change is pumping the carbon into the plants, and that means that they're replacing protein with sugar.
Yeah.
So they're not as nutritive as they are. But the good news is that, as we found out, right, Allison, nobody really knew how much food there was here.
Until we started looking.
Yeah. And once we as a group, Food Producers Forum, realized that, we launched a survey. Before that, we actually held a 32-speaker online conference in 2022 that collected a lot of insight and powerful recommendations from about 200 people who attended online. And then we did the survey, and the survey, called Where is the Food, WTF, gathered amazing information from 742 people, okay? So the obvious question is, what did those 742 people produce in 2022?
Yeah, what were they doing? What were they growing? What was all this food? Because in my mind, it's everything from you're growing in your backyard, from your typical root vegetables to berries, and then you can get some folks who are doing some pretty interesting things that perhaps people wouldn't know about as well.
Absolutely, it was crazy to find out that 2% of what we were producing was grapes.
See, this is what I mean.
Yeah, and there's a big expansion of some unusual crops going on. 36%, according to our survey of community-based food production, was root vegetables, but there were also greens, peas, beans, onion, garlic, cabbage, kale, cucumber, tomatoes, peppers, carrots, all of it.
Yeah.
And then there's the forage foods and the hunted foods and the fished foods. So we surveyed all of that. The cumulative total production from those 742 people was 6.2 million pounds of food.
Yeah, I mean, to quote Barack Obama from 2008, yes, we can.
And what we're seeing now is people coming forward and saying, I want to farm.
Yeah.
But it is not easy to farm in this province for reasons that we're now going to address, and Allison will talk about that, how we move forward. Because now that we've identified where the issues are in policy, practice, lack of support, it's so hard to get your hands on Crown land. And once you do, it's so hard to get funding and support for, particularly for new agriculture, regenerative agriculture, hydroponics. But it's actually a very hopeful story because it's started to turn around now, as our survey demonstrated.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a great thing when you talk. I enjoy when we have context information talking about effort, and then we can look towards hope and say, look, this work is being done. This is what we found out, and this is what we're trying to build on it. Allison Snow, tell us a bit, your first time on the show, and as the new chairperson for the Food Producers Forum, tell us a bit about yourself. First, why'd you want to get involved with this racket?
Ask myself that some days. I guess I've always been a bit of an old soul. I've always appreciated our heritage in growing food. Even myself growing up in Mount Pearl, we had a small little plot in the Goulds where we'd go grow the root vegetables. Um, and as I got older, I guess I went to school to become IT person and started working at Mon. And after a few years, they started a community garden there behind Mon. So I got involved with that and became chair of that board. And then Dan had sent out a request for people who might be interested in getting involved with a nonprofit that was to do with food production and food sovereignty, as we say it now. So that was the end of that story. Dan and I met and became instant friends, and we've been slugging this out now for about 7 years.
Mm.
And, as Dan said, it can be a little daunting and it can be a little depressing to think about what we had and what we don't have now. But our primary and really only goal is to figure out a way to make this all work again so that we never have a snowmageddon issue again.
Excellent. All right, sit tight for 1 second because I want to go to the phones. We've got Hilda Chalk Murray on the line, author of Cows Don't Know It's Sunday, which I love that title. Hilda, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Can you tell us, we've talked a little about farming history around St. John's, but for your research, paint a picture of how many folks were farming back in the day, like early 20th century in St. John's, and some of the stuff that you know about from your research.
I can't give you a definite answer for that.
No.
But there farms all over the place. Even in the heart of the city, you had a couple of farms that operated right up until in the mid-40s. And with the expansion of the city beyond Empire Avenue, many of them were doing very, very well. You had farmers that were up to date on whatever was going on in the farming world. And as soon as they, the horse was during the 40s particularly, the horse was the king of the road, I guess you would say. But and so you had to have pasture land. There was pasture land all over St. John's. And it was at hand all the time.
Yeah, so lots of farms, successful farms, folks being up on the latest in farming, and this in the day when, into the 40s, when still, like you said, not like if you're looking on Kenmount Road now with all the cars, which wasn't even like there like that then. You're talking Empire Avenue and horses filling the streets. But this was a time when we were successfully farming with so many people.
That is true, and can you imagine taking a herd of cows from across from the Avalon Mall in Kenmount Road to Kelsey Drive?
Oh, that's amazing.
That's what they were able to do in the early 40s.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Hilda, Dan Rubin wants to say something to you.
First of all, I want to say hi, Hilda. I have memories of meeting and talking with you as a fellow author. It's wonderful to hear your voice.
Oh, nice to hear you too. I'm just fascinated by all the information that people have.
Well, I know that there was, and there may still be remnants of a historical society for agriculture. I don't know where the information they collected is kept, but it's wonderful to hear from you and to hear from Frank about those stories. I sometimes call into VOCM, and my friend Patty Daly is gone now. I finally had enough of it. But I used to talk to him, and he said his grandfather used to grow carrots commercially. So there is still those roots, and where it's gone is it's still happening, as you know, in the rural communities where people grow and they hunt and they forage and they do all of that. But the really strange thing is that we have legislation at the municipal level grabbed piecemeal from a UK planning document published in 1947 that is telling people who live on residential property that they can't grow food. They can't keep chickens. So one of the things that's now past history is the 2 years of the project called the Provincial Food Network that I led. And that was an engagement that raised $472,000 and supported 14 communities, 4 in Labrador and actually 10 here on the island, in restoring food production. And we made some major gains in those 14 communities. But now, as Allison will share, that group who's ran out of the funding now decided to become a co-op. So I'm not going to tell that story, but it was a really amazing project in terms of demonstrating the capacity to produce food close to where it's eaten.
And Hilda, go ahead, Hilda.
Well, I grew up in a area, a town that's known as the root cellar capital of the world.
Elliston?
Well, even a smaller part that's at the end of the road, Mabberley.
Oh, there you go. Amazing. Hilda, any other final thoughts before I let you go?
That that people, if they have a piece of land, to use it or grow it in tubs.
Yep.
My husband and I used to grow our own vegetables and did canning and so on. So we never had to buy potatoes. And we had plenty for the winter.
Amazing.
And they stayed good in our cellar.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's a great.
The problem started with the, as Frank pointed out at the beginning, that when tariffs were taken away and everything started flooding in, I had one farmer who gave up farming because he had taken a load of turnips from Gould's out. He was selling in the Bonavista, Catalina area. And there was someone else from the mainland who could sell at a lower price than he could. And he could not sell his turnips.
Mm. Mm.
So he dumped them and said, "That's it. I give up." And he took up another occupation.
And I mean, that echoes so well on what Frank Holden was saying at the start of the show there, Hilda. We've got a couple of folks on the line that I need to get to now. And I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show, for sharing your expertise, your research. And it's just much appreciated.
I have a new book coming out soon, I hope.
All right. Well, yeah.
Which called Where Once They Farmed. And it's full of diagrams and maps and pictures on just about every page.
Well, and I will look forward to that.
I hope that will be out. I will have that out soon.
All right, Hilda, I'm looking forward to the book. Congratulations in advance, and thanks so much again for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.
Hilda Chalk Murray there. And I mean, that, Hilda's first book, 2002, Cows Don't Know It's Sunday, right? So when we have these conversations in community, you've got people now who have built on knowledge and research of folks such as Hilda Chalk Murray, right, with Cows Don't Know It's Sunday and beyond. Speaking of people who've been building lots of things, Michael Murray is on the line from Portugal Cove. Hello, sir.
Hi, how are you, Adam?
And thank you. And by the way, you'll be getting an email from me in a few days about a gardening question and idea for the season when it comes. But your thoughts on farming in today, because I know it's such an important part of your family history, previously and now, and looking down into the future.
Yeah. First, I want to thank Dan for bringing this topic forward, representing it. I know Dan and I have had many conversations and sit on some boards together to try to offer more discussion around the needs for protection for farmland and farms generally. One of a couple of things that really stand out for me is, big issue for us here as a farm that's been 200 years in my family now, an agriculturally designated heritage farm, is land use conflicts. For example, we're having a situation right now where we have encroachment on one side of our farm with 60 small houses been built and a large high school on the other. And we've been talking to our municipality about protection of our land. We've been talking about buffers to protect our farm and also to protect the wetlands and the water supply that's so crucial to us here on our farm. Some of the things that are interesting to note is when I was going to agricultural college on my way to becoming a horticulturalist, in 1970, there were 92,000 dairy farms in Canada. Today, there's less than 9,000. And it isn't that production of milk has gone down. What's happened is a consolidation of dairy production into bigger and bigger units. Animals are in confined, cows particularly are kept in confined animal enclosures. They don't go out and graze anymore. That's having a huge impact on the safety of the food supply. So big isn't necessarily better. Protecting land is really critical. The other part of it is to understand climate change has arrived. It's here.
Yeah.
This last year, we've seen drought, extreme heat. The hay crop in Atlantic Canada was very bad. Some farmers are closing up simply because they have extreme costs to purchase feed for animals. That's having a huge impact. I think the thing is, and Dan spoke to it, is the sustainable agriculture or sustainable food is one thing. It's like lip service. Politicians have these things roll off their lips and really don't have much sense of it. I also think one of the problems that we're encountering here in our own community in Portugal Cove is our town and its staff don't really understand that much of appreciation for the impacts that development are having on places like our farm here. Many municipalities just don't have the expertise or the experience, and they're led to believe that development is a path to prosperity. when in fact, if you basically compromise this farm and other farms that have been compromised in our community, then you're really doing a disservice to the public by not allowing these farms to continue to produce and become innovative. Today we're starting a crop in a brand new house here to produce lettuce year-round here in our own operation. Certainly anybody who's familiar with our own business here, we've been doing some interesting things. We're using our crop to feed the Grounds Cafe here, which has been a great success for us. So having notions of conservation, innovation, and hopefully having the protection from government at 3 levels to help sustain agriculture at the local level. So those are real issues for me. And if there's, I'd like to continue this dialogue with some of your guests there.
Yeah. All right, Michael. So we've got a couple of people on the line, and I'm going to go to the next 2 callers. Then we'll come back to circle back with Allison as well as Frank again to keep the conversation going. And I'll be in touch, sir. Thank you for the call as always.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All
right, bye. Michael Murray there. Let's go to Labrador before I go back to Allison, because there's a couple people I want to get to, and then to circle back to the main guests for the show. Darren Dinsmore is on the line, Aldercroft Farm in Happy Valley. Hello, sir.
Hi, Adam. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for taking the call from us. I got in touch because I wanted to obviously have a Labrador point of view on the show today, and also someone who is farming. So tell us about your farm and just how things are going.
Yeah, things are going well on the farm. We've actually had record-breaking numbers of births on the farm. Everything from piglets to baby lambs to new calves born on the farm, even some rabbits. So it's been a very fruitful winter season for us.
Congrats. So when I look at one of the conversations I had last year was about the lack of hay because of the drought conditions on the island. I know Labrador's obviously different, but for you as a young farmer nowadays, when you look ahead and you think about climate change, but also for food producing for Labrador and provincially, what are your thoughts on where things are going and your role and how things are evolving?
Yeah, I think we're making some good progression forward regarding development of farmland. I know for us specifically, we're constantly trying to increase the size of our farm so that we can grow more hay. When you're dealing with livestock, we need as much hay as we can get. Currently, we ship a lot of our hay in because we have enough pastures for summertime pasture, but we don't have enough
for winter.
Just yet. We're getting close, but we don't have enough yet to actually bale and save throughout the winter. So that's what we're doing right now. But I mean, the most important things moving forward, I would say are, I've said it before, but it's increasing our local inputs, producing local inputs, infrastructure, which we're currently building a meat processing facility, and then our identity as food producers, and I think having unity around that really could move agriculture forward in the province.
Darren, how old are you, by the way?
I think I'm 38.
So why farming for you as a 38-year-old?
Farming for me, so I have a background, in farming. I grew up on a farm in Ontario, a couple different farms at different times, and attended 4-H club and did all the things, milked cows for a while. And so when I moved out here to Labrador, as they say, the big land, there's so much potential out here regarding agriculture. I mean, it's unbelievable, and just when I realized the intense need to produce local, healthy food for families here, I mean, that was enough said. I wanted in, and I wanted to help make a difference here. And for me, that's very fulfilling.
All right, sir. I know you're busy. I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate you kind of laying out your thoughts on everything. So thank you so much.
Oh, thanks so much, Adam. You have a good day.
You too. So Darren Dinsmore there, Aldercroft Farm, Happy Valley. Dave Patton quickly, and then we'll get back to Allison and Frank. Dave Patton, you got stats on agriculture, right? Thanks for calling on this.
Yeah, hi, Adam. I just thought your readers or your listeners might be interested in some of these numbers, so I'll go straight into them very quickly.
Yes, sir.
This is from Northwest River in 1936. 19,996 pounds of milk, 783 pounds of beef, 417 pounds of pork, 1,778 pounds of turnip, 1,550 pounds of cabbage, 530 pounds of carrots, 362 pounds of beets, rhubarb, lettuce, chard, kale, peas, cauliflower, radish, 303 dozen eggs, and 1,100 cans of native berries, and you could buy fresh milk for 9 cents a quart.
That's a pretty good price for milk.
Not bad, eh? No. Now, this was in 1935.
That's a lot. What does that say to you, Dave?
That it could all be done again. And I could add that in the 1850s, I think it was, Sir Donald Smith, Lord Strathcona, had a farm in Northwest River when he was the Hudson Bay Company manager there. Mm. So it's some of the most fertile land around. I guess Mud Lake probably has the most fertile land in Labrador, according to an old survey I had. Mm. But lots of potential there.
Dave Patton, thank you for this. I really love the addition to the show with those stats and thoughts on Northwest River and what is possible. So thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks, Adam.
All right. There you go. Dave Patton there. All right. Let's get back to Allison. Hi, Allison Snow. How you doing?
Oh, my God. I'm just fascinated. I could hear this stuff all day long.
I mean, this is why we're doing it.
Right?
Head on just to mainly listen. But now is your time to shine. Tell us about the way forward, right? So we had, Dan set us up so nicely. But now let's talk about the way forward and all of that.
Dan has a silver tongue, so he's a hard act to follow, but I'll give it my best. So first of all, I want to mention to everybody listening to please go to foodproducersforum.com and sign up for our newsletter. You'll hear about all of our latest projects as well as stories we've collected from around the world about agriculture, gardening, climate change, different things. It's becoming quite a really great production, and we have a good team that keeps that going every month.
I get it. It's a really nice newsletter. It is.
Thank you.
It's one of the best.
Turn on.
So I have a couple of things I want to mention that we're currently involved in. As Dan said, the Provincial Food Network has now become a co-op. We're going to make a major announcement about that soon. And that will be open to everybody in the province. You don't have to be a food producer or a farmer to join that.
Excellent.
Next,
go ahead.
Yep. Okay. I was just going to rhyme off like 3 or 4 things.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good.
So last year we worked with Municipalities NL on a project called Tomorrow's Towns, where they put out a call for municipalities to request help in building an earth-sheltered greenhouse, which I'm sure Dan has been on here talking about before, or some other farm-related sort of improvement. And we heard from 8 to 10 municipalities, and in the end, 2 municipalities decided to go forward with us. So we helped them do a funding application, and each of them have been awarded almost $100,000 to build an earth shelter greenhouse in their municipality. So we will be helping them along the way. Dan has all the expertise when it comes to those greenhouses, and we're very excited to get that up and running.
Excellent. Go ahead. What else you got?
Our next project, so basically we've been picking away at this for 7 years, and we've been looking at distribution, we've been looking at storage, and we've been looking at supply. And a little while ago, Dan had a great awakening, as he tends to do. He can put together all these random thoughts and come up with a solution or a project. So he decided, or I guess came to the board of Food Producers Forum and said, what we should be doing is looking from the top down and looking at the entire food supply chain from start to finish and seeing if we cannot address it that way. Fix the whole system instead of bits and pieces. Nothing to it. So our next project is right?
Yeah.
Tiny little project. So we're convening a think tank of 14 to 15 subject matter experts in these different industries, and we're going to try to boil down all of the recommendations and move forward with this project. And I just want to say that, we're nonpartisan, we're nonprofit, we're there to support, we're not there to compete. So anybody that has a question or needs any help, feel free to contact us. Our email is foodproducersforum@gmail.com.
Excellent. Here, let me toss it back to Dan. Dan, thoughts on just what Allison's laying out there?
Yeah, what I would say about this is it's getting very challenging and exciting at the same time. And we've got a great board with lots of new people on it from various points of view and backgrounds. And we also have a design team that includes 3 undergraduate students from the Faculty of Engineering and a graduate student with a degree in engineering. And that team is working with the 2 municipalities that Allison mentioned, which is Chapel Arm and Glen Burnie, Birchie Cove, Shoalbrook. I always get the sequence wrong, in Gross Mourne. So those 2 communities will be building earth shelter greenhouses roughly of the same size as the one we built at the O'Brien Farm or David Goodyear's one in Flat Rock. But we're also starting to work with farms, new farms, on larger greenhouses up to 1,000 square feet. So now that we have that design team led by Michael Dobbin, the vice chair, we have the capacity, if you're a farmer or want to be a farmer and you're listening, we have the capacity to provide expertise, mentorship, design for greenhouses from about $1,000 greenhouse up to the full whammy, which is about $35,000 in materials. And that capacity is, Allison, is relatively new for us, isn't it?
Yes, we're ramping up.
Excellent.
So this consultation process that will take place on March 7th, the think tank, will be the first of a series of meetings to look at food production, food storage, processing, and distribution, public support for local food, because a lot of people think you can't grow food here.
Yeah.
That's how stunned we are. And we need to wake people up and say, hey, there's local food and you can afford it and it's really good. And there's some very exciting projects going on across the province already. So we're not creating this. We're plugging people in to the potential that already exists. And it's getting pretty exciting.
Let me bring Frank Holden back into the conversation.
Yeah.
Frank, thanks for listening so patiently. And this whole show is because of you and your thoughts and the jumping off point of looking back at what was. Then we had that Dave Patton calling. He also sent me an email with the stats, right? Like you look at Northwest River, 1936. 1,778 pounds of turnip, 1,550 pounds of cabbage, 530 pounds of carrots, plus beef, rhubarb, lettuce, eggs, you name it, like things that have been done in the past. And also, when we were hearing as well from Hilda Chalk Murray about what was back in the day and what you started the show with. So just tell me your thoughts on what we've heard, and then I also would love to have a word on a Ballad of a Green Man, sir.
Let me give you my short sermon on farming. Very short.
Good. Now remember, there's only 6 minutes left to the show because we've got to go to the Olympics at 55. So it has to be, you've got a couple minutes.
Very short sermon. If you can't feed yourself where you live, you'll have to starve or leave. End of sermon.
Oh, that's pretty good. You wrote a play, Ballad of a Green Man. Why?
Well, as I say, I grew up on a farm myself, and I didn't even realize until decades later that how fast this transformation happened from the prosperous days of World War II. And it was good for us. We could sell everything you could raise or grow. And it was all done, as these other folks have pointed out, it was all done with horses, men and women, children doing all the work, and all that fantastic produce just up in Pooch Cove alone. And now we have greater technology, which doesn't necessarily make it better. But even in the back gardens, when first St. John's was growing in the old times, rough and savage, we grew potatoes, greens, and cabbage. Against the winter's ravage, we had many an apple tree. In summer, you'd smell the capelin, you hear the digging and the raking behind every garden gate in our city by the sea. Well, the farmers eventually grew up around it, but it was all done, as people have already mentioned, with horses, men and women. Machinery and a lot of even driven vehicles didn't happen. We didn't have a lot of them cars, motor cars and trucks until World War II and after World War II. So if all this produce could have been produced before under these centuries old conditions of horsepower basically and manpower, then certainly with modern technology now. Let me make one suggestion. If you're looking for a project, Bell Island. If you've ever driven around Bell Island, you see all the fallow farmland over there, hundreds of acres of it. It was all abandoned when the mines came. Now the mines are gone. 60 years ago, the mines are gone. Now you could start really seriously and intensively growing food on Bell Island. It used to feed half the Avalon Peninsula, and it can do so again very quickly. I'm sure the people on Bell Island will be happy to hear that, too. End of sermon.
All right. Thanks, Frank. Dan's got something to add here now.
Yeah, we've been in contact with the people over there. They do have a farming co-op. They're thinking of using the old mine to grow mushrooms.
I heard about that.
There's some very exciting things happening. And I wanted to end with this note because, Allison, you and I were talking just the other day when we realized that what this is an opportunity to actually roll up your sleeves and do something, to transform that feeling of hopelessness that we share when we talk about these issues, like the loss of local food. And Allison, do you want to say something about volunteers? We have wonderful volunteers, right?
We're always happy to help to have volunteers join us. And actually, whenever we start a project, our teams are made up partly of board members and partly of volunteers. So again, please get in touch with us. We can all get through this food emergency together.
And what we've really discovered in the last 7 years of working together and the work that Allison and I and Dr. Sarkar and others who have joined is the power of community.
Yeah.
There's not much that an individual can do, but there is so much that a team of people can do. It is fantastic and amazing, and that very much applies to growing and gathering our own food. We can do this.
Well, I mean, I also appreciate the effort for the community conversation of it all. So, like, there's the shows we've done, right? You get Frank emailing me and wanting to do another show. Michael Murray phoning in. So, from gardening side of it, and
is
then bringing
today
up those
is
points.
the speakers today, and we all know each other.
Yeah.
See, that's the key
That's
factor.
the Newfoundland and Labrador
is that we're
link, I think.
already a community.
Yeah.
And we just need to use what we got.
Well, we're small enough here to know each other, to phone each other, to be part of things, right? And so, yes, like Michael Murray brought up, like when we talk about development, there are big questions to ask about how towns and municipalities are doing it. The same with what are the permissions for growing, how things have evolved over time, looking at the reality of what we're trying to get to. But all of that is a community public discussion, and all these voices matter so much of trying to push things forward when we're trying to have effort. And
Michael
success.
and I, along with Merv Weisman, the former president of the Federation, and Dr. Nick Fairbridge, formed a policy group, and we developed a policy statement targeting what needs to change. We sent that out, and we have a letter from Tony Wakeham committing to those changes. So this is a time of great hope and serious need and serious solutions.
Ooh, there you go. And I will give a shout out to you. Also have folks like Steve and Lisa McBride. With
Absolutely.
the backyard farming and homesteading.
I'd love to hear from them.
They're so good. Well, we were trying to get them on the show today, but we're so cinched. But they will. I'll be inviting them soon to another show to talk because of all the great work they do, and I really appreciate both of them and that whole community.
Yeah, the homesteaders are key to what we need to do.
Yeah. It's all part of the conversation, and I look at that. Allison Snow, Frank Holden, we're out of time pretty much. Final thought, you get like 3 or 4 words each. Allison, final thought for today?
I'd just like to thank Frank. We've never met, but I really appreciate that he brought this topic forward, and thank you, Adam, for your support.
Thanks, Allison. Frank, last word. You got 10 seconds.
When the little boys and girls kick their way into the world, the farmer is the man that feeds them all. And how's that?
That's perfect. All right, thank you so much. Okay, everyone, that's it for today. We're going to go to the Olympic 5 minutes over in Italy. And tomorrow we're preempted because apparently there's a hockey game on. Go Team Canada. I'll be watching instead of hosting. Cheers. Bye.